Okay, first let us we're looking at the state of crude oil refineries in Nigeria. How do you take the news that finally we have a functioning refinery in Nigeria? Let's just get your reactions for that.
I'll say congratulations. That kind of a project of that size, typically in our parts of the world is a government project, not an individual. So for Mr. Dangote to be bold enough to confront that space and finally get what is said to be the single largest single train refinery in the world is commendable. It's commendable. There have been all sort of tales about how it will never work, it will never produce, it will not do that. It started producing diesel, kerosene, and all the rest, and finally we're here with a more complex product, which is PMS. So congratulations to Mr. Dangote, and I dare say congratulations to Nigeria.
All right, definitely. Congratulations seems to be in order indeed, especially now that we're having fuel scarcity. Queues still persist at filling stations, and schools are about to resume on Monday, and a lot of Nigerians are worried about the outcome of that. But before we go into that, let us take this break, and when we come back, we will introduce our other guests and we'll carry on with the discussion. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers, and we're talking about state of crude oil refineries in Nigeria. And we have joining us live from Delta State, Engineer Omondo Otanocha. He is a member of Governing Council, Federal University of Petroleum Resources, from Delta State. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on Firecrackers.
Good afternoon, Rebami. How are you? Good afternoon, Nigerians.
All right, fine, thank you. So let us have a reaction first. How does it feel like to finally have a functioning refinery in Nigeria?
Okay, it's good. Dangote Refinery is finally back online. Yeah, there are other functional refineries with a low capacity, and some of them are having challenges with crude oil supplies. But it's a good thing, and for me, I pray that others can come on stream too, so that we can Nigerians can have value, and then this suffering will be reduced, especially the transport sector that has have an adverse effect on every other sector of the economy, and then on Nigerians. Yeah, it's a good one, and I think the government should do more to support other initiatives like this to come on stream. Thank you.
Announcement of removal of fuel subsidy, we have been promised that our refineries, the one that we had, is going to be rehabilitated. And since then, we've always been given several dates of when they would come on board, when they would start working. And then the latest of it all is the Port Harcourt refinery that is projected to start running by September. So for all this news that we've been hearing so far, it is no surprise that a lot of Nigerians are not really putting all their hopes on the fact that it's going to start running in Nigeria. But from your own expertise and from your experiences, do you think that Nigerians this time around should have faith in federal government's declaration that the Port Harcourt refinery will start working by September?
Okay, why I don't have powers to speak on the political space. I can only speak on the technical side where I have competencies. Yes, we must keep hope. We have a lot of in-country capacity at our various research and development institutions in this country, and also personalities who have been involved in such kind of operations outside the shores of this country. So we have a lot of local capacity, local content capacity. All we need is all that is needed is for a deliberate government to provide an enabling environment for such businesses to thrive. Most of the mini refineries, modular refineries, and even small and medium-scale refineries outside these countries are owned by Nigerians, and some of the people operating those refineries are Nigerians. I am aware. So we have the capacity. So, but in country here, they need to be an enabling environment, and then some level of sincerity, transparency, so that Nigerians can have benefits. Again, I want to emphasize that energy is a security, national security issue. So I think the government should take it that way, so that production, the productive sector can be well enabled with the fuel that powers the industry, which is diesel, and then for the transport sector, petrol. So we should have hope. Government is also making efforts in terms of CNG. Some technocrats have also been pushing for methanol as an alternative source of to put up a better energy mix for Nigeria. So these efforts have to be supported by government deliberate policy, so that investors can have opportunity to come into the space, and also to get value for Nigerians and also stakeholders.
Thank you very much for that. And now to Bolan Lejade, do you feel like the reasons that we've been battling with this refineries rehabilitation in Nigeria, do you think that perhaps sabotage, deliberate sabotage, might be part of the things that is hindering the 4 refineries in Nigeria to have started production?
It is not impossible. The first time I started paying attention to the issue of revamping Nigerian refineries were in the last set of years of Head of State Abacha. So the turnaround maintenance, all those stuff, that was when I started paying attention to it. The reality is that even from then up until now, those refineries have still not become functional. There have been periods when they had some little functionality, but they were working way below capacity until they finally packed up. So essentially what we've been doing in those refineries is paying salaries, and they have quite a huge number of staff. So we pay salaries, they don't produce anything. The following year we'll make budget for them again, and we keep on going like that. Apparently there are beneficiaries of systems that run that way, and it is not impossible that the key beneficiaries might not even be the salary earners. They like it that way. It is possible. Then don't forget that the oil space is a very challenging space, and there are stakeholders, there are operators that will do anything to maintain the status quo. And every attempt that has been made to change that space has been vehemently resisted by those beneficiaries of the scheme. If you read Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's book, Fighting Corruption is Dangerous, she made allusions to some of those issues and how our own mother was kidnapped because of issues around subsidy and oil and fuel and stuff. That kind of mentality has not changed as we speak. So it's possible that there is sabotage. However, in my opinion, irrespective of what that kind of sabotage may be, if we have the right level of political will, the patriotism to want to indeed make an impact, those forces could be stronger than the saboteurs, and could actually bring down the saboteurs so that Nigeria will prevail over those circumstances. But as it is, when you think of the current contract to revamp those refineries and how it has become promises of 1 month after the other, is it not becoming shameful? It's just an opinion. I don't know what you think or what any other person might think. Oh, we will start working in January. Oh, now it is going to be February. Oh, it's March. Let's push it to June. Oh, it will be July. It will be August. It's going to be September. How do people sleep at night making those kind of promises? Are there no technical competence? I mean, I just listened to the Don who spoke, and he said there is technical competence. So those technical competence, is it that they are not effective enough to determine the state of a particular revamp and when they will start production? If it cannot, then what is the honest sense of this technical competence? And if it is there, then why can't we say, oh, instead of saying this month, that month, let's say, oh, it will be in 2025 January based on this and this and this, and people can work with that and program their mind. But I think we've lost shame. I don't think we have elements of that with us any longer. Otherwise, how comfortable do you feel as the CEO of an institution, for example, that is making those kind of pronouncements? If it were to be me, at some point, I will start feeling ashamed. In fact, at some point, I will start making those promises until I get the real value. Then I was okay, now I'm confident and I can go out there and say it. And when I say it, I know it will come exactly as I have said it. That is what maybe I have too high an expectation.
Okay, because in the beginning of the discussion, you said that this feat is something that should have been achieved by the government, and seeing that it is a private individual that is achieving it. So do you think that perhaps if Nigeria were to get the 4 refineries working, do you think that perhaps if it were to be handed over to private persons, private organizations, do you think that maybe then we would not be having all this shuffling and keep pushing forward dates of the operation? Then perhaps, do you think that that might work?
I thought that was even the purpose of the last contract that was awarded for this revamp of the refineries. To say, look, we should make these refineries functional first and then concession them to the private sector. The government does not run any business successfully, at least not in our country, and anybody who has examples of fantastic government businesses should name them. Where you see success, it is because there's a strong private sector involvement running it, and government is probably a minority of that. A very good example is the NLNG, where government is 49%, I believe, and then the private sector is 51%. So we know who controls, who has a controlling share in that, and it is run by that private sector. In those kind of instances, yes. If today those government refineries start to work and they are left to government to operate it, we will be back at this position again. They will die. And keep a diary of it. That is what will happen to all of them.
Okay, so let's get the opinion of Engineer Tamucha on that. What are your thoughts on perhaps the federal government relinquishing control of, even if it is the rehabilitation of this refinery to private individuals or companies? Do you think that then we might be having green light for restart production?
Okay, thank you. I just want to reemphasize what the previous speaker mentioned about government participation in businesses. That was a very good example. I just want to reemphasize it, the NLNG project. Okay, and that can be replicated. Okay, it can be replicated because of the best practices that have been that is taking place there, and it's a very profitable business. Yeah, so I quite agree with that, 100%. You mentioned. Just want to chip in. I did an interrogation on the issue. We had some robust discussion on the issue of keeping staff when the refinery is down. If you understand the intricacies around refinery business, first and foremost, it is marginal. It is marginal, and the marginal return is very, very low for refining compared to those who are into production. So a smart investor would want to produce crude oil and sell. Okay, in dollars, and get his money, quick returns, and move on, rather than going to refinery, which has a lot of technicalities and a lot of risk. But the beauty about refineries is when you go into petrochemicals, and then you're able to get a good substantial marginal returns for your investors to grab. So it's not, a refinery is not somewhere you just shut down and then you lay off your staff, and then you come back, set it up, and then bring back the staff. Don't forget, these were employed and they have their terms of contract. So the idea that, okay, the refineries are done, so they should lay off all the staff, it will be difficult to bring back the refinery or to re-engage such people. There are legalities surrounding that. Moving forward, I think the government is the right thing to do, to hand over or to make sure that the refinery are operating in full capacity, do a proper audit and assessment, and then have partnerships with the private sector. Any industry driven by the private sector is sure to succeed. These are the realities in Nigeria as we speak. Like I mentioned in the sister station to Galaxy, in other climes, if you are not involved in research and development in any of the, I mentioned Petrobras. also even Saudi Aramco, they have a policy that if you have not gone through, if you have not headed the research and development session, you cannot be the head of the oil company. So these are best practices that we can adapt in Nigeria, so that in R&D you're able to model various scenarios and prefer solutions before they even occur. You predict them before they even occur. For example, in 2018, it's open online. If you go online and you type FUPRE, Federal Investment of Petroleum Resources, and you put the comma, put Dangote, we predicted what will happen, which is already happening now as at 2022. In 2018, we predicted that by 2022, if the 4 refineries are not rehabilitated until, and then Dangote comes on stream on full capacity, Nigeria is going to face a serious energy crisis, which we're already in now. But rather than mourning, we are here to provide solutions. Nigerians are suffering. And like I said, energy is a security matter for production. China goods are hitting the entire world because they are heavily subsidized. Production is heavily subsidized in terms of energy and power. And what drives our power majorly here, especially the private businesses, is fossil fuel. So for now, I think the government should make concerted efforts. There are universities like my university, Federal University of Petroleum Resources, the Petroleum Training Institute. They have capacity. Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. They have chemical engineers, mechanical engineers who are world class. They have worked in other refineries. The University of Port Harcourt, they have IPS there, Institute for Petroleum Studies. Okay, we have world-class technocrats, people who have both academic and industry expertise that could turn around this. So, what I would advise, like I've been stated in the reports to the federal government through the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, there was a committee last year set up by this current administration, by the chief of staff to the president of the federation, and then I was part of that committee, and a lot of solutions were put there on how to bring up small mini refineries all over in clusters, in community based, registered all across, even up to Kogi State, from the Niger Delta to Kogi State, even up to Kaduna. You connect them with inland waterways and also light rails. For now, we can use the inland waterway because the light rails are not necessarily there. But if the business thrives, then you can use that to move crude around, supported by the pipelines, and then you have a lot of availability of products in the country. I also mentioned that the storage mentioned that the current infrastructural capacity that has been built by those who are importing petroleum can also be converted to stock petroleum. That means the government has to make efforts to open up other fields, other marginal fields, or even go into exploration. The last time we did exploration in this country for offshore, from the information available to me, is 15 years ago. We need to go offshore. We need to open up fields. We need to give marginal fields to research institutions and tie them to investors, not for free, but just remove all the encumbrances and ramp up production. Imagine if we start producing up to about 5 million barrels per day, then we're able to satisfy OPEC, and then make enough available for local production, certified Dangote, and other modular refineries or mini refineries that have come up in this country. These are solutions that are viable, and the question I will always ask is, if China, because you have to reference those who are doing well, if China had this energy crisis that we have, what would they do? They will break all the rules to make sure that they satisfy the local demand. The demand is growing. For every child born today, there's demand for energy. Okay, so Nigeria needs to be very proactive. The resources are there, just to have the enabling environment, and then both the stakeholders and the Nigerians will smile home, and this suffering will be reduced. So so we must keep hope, and government must support government's efforts in genuinely privatizing the refineries in an open and transparent manner, looking at competencies and not just political leanings or I don't know, or using our friends or cronies to pick up this because of the economic viabilities. So we must keep hope. I'm very hopeful that if the current processes at doing operations and management of the Warri Refinery and the Kaduna Refinery are properly done, then experts will come on board and take up some of this infrastructure and make products available and satisfy investors and stakeholders.
So you mentioned something about oil exploration in Nigeria, but one of the things that I feel a lot of people would worry about, especially for people who know of state of affairs in this oil producing state and the environmental degradation that takes place there. We have issues of pollution, we have issues of rivers being polluted, and then aquatic life is being lost in this area, which also brings to light some of the things that is also happening in Kaduna State, where they say that the toxic gas from the refinery there was killing farm animals, it was killing plants, and some human beings there too were being hospitalized. So what advice would you give to the federal government when it comes to handling situations like this, especially because they are trying to work for the citizens? So what is the essence that if their way of trying to generate income that will better the citizen, these roles that they are playing is also killing the citizens? So what advice would you give to the federal government?
If you are concerned with the oil and gas industry, recently there were huge discoveries of crude oil deposits equivalent to about 10 billion barrels, or the 10 billion barrels supply or storage in Namibia, and almost all the IOCs, the international oil companies, are all they are all scrambling to farm into that project in Namibia, and this took a lot of resilience of prospecting for oil and also getting more feeds on board. I am aware that the company that was involved in that were in Nigeria, but they didn't get the right ears and the right space to work. Yes, there's a lot of negative aspects, environmental impact. That's why before you are giving most of the processes there is room for environmental impact assessment and also mitigation. So if the proper rules set up by the regulating agencies are followed, there are ways to mitigate such environmental instances. Proper reporting, and then the livelihood of such communities are protected. Okay, are protected. And again, there are sophisticated technologies now that reduces that can be used to reduce some of the impacts of exploration activities around those communities. This can be deployed. That's why, if you mention, I go back again. That's why those who are in R&D, research and development, they do proper models, okay, which are specific to the environments where they are going for operations. So when you do your models, you know the likelihood of all kinds of scenarios, and then you prepare against adverse effects. And where you know you cannot avoid some of these adverse effects, you make room for what they call mitigation. For mitigation. If you notice behind my background, I finished a school recently on climate action. Okay, how to make sure that whatever you're doing as an engineer or oil and gas company, you are aware, you take action to make sure that the climate is not further worsened. So that's the part of mitigation. And there are a lot of things that the oil companies are doing now to make sure that they go what they call net zero, avoiding emissions and also spill. A lot of technologies have been made available, and it keeps developing. And it's a good thing for Nigeria, because there were predictions that there's a lot of there's going to be a lot of discoveries of oil in Nigeria, even in the north, and a lot of them are coming up now, being produced in the north and all over the country, because of then we have not even tapped offshore, and we call Nigeria a gas nation, but most of the gas reserve, most of the gas quantity that have been announced, most of them are accidental discoveries, not deliberate effort to explore for gas. Okay, they also the Enugu Oasis for gas from coal is also there too. So the deliberate attempt by government to create an enabling environment for more exploration, ramp up crude oil production, because a lot of foreign direct investment will go down soon because of the issues of energy transitions. Okay, so we need to, as a country, push for more opening up more field, bring as much as that is on the ground up and put them in storages for use, and then to also guarantee our Nigeria's energy security. And the government will make deliberate attempt to make sure that whatever revenue that is gotten from this is used to go into development of technologies and alternative energies, so that we can leapfrog into energy transition, or have varied energy mix in Nigeria. But to say that crude oil will go away, not necessarily. But again, the crude is a global good, and the global politics will play out, and we might be affected if we are not proactive in thinking about. Look at Saudi Aramco. They are investing a lot of alternative energies. Okay, investing a lot of alternative solar, and also geothermal. They are looking at a lot of opportunities, and the revenue from oil is being used to ramp up such technologies. Nigeria can follow the same thing. It's not rocket science what they do. We have a lot of people in Nigeria here who can do some of these things. Total, I'm aware they are trying to go into 3D technology printing, such a way that some of the critical equipment that they need, to produce them in-house to support their operations, instead of waiting for original equipment manufacturers and then downtime for return of various components. So these are some of the things we can do, and make sure that the adverse effects of oil exploration is mitigated and then it's reduced.
Well, we thank you so much for your contributions on the program. It has really been educational. Many thanks for joining us today on Firecrackers.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nigerians. Yeah.
And that's Engineer Monigo Kamuta, who joined us live from Delta State. He is a member of Government Council, Federal University of Petroleum Resources, Delta State.